This week's channel message from Isla, the mother of creation, is following on from last week's, where she told us we were going to be sensing a rattling in our lives. Well, this week, that rattling develops into a shattering. But she says to focus in on what's causing it, which is our own change from within, that we are holding more light, and those old forms can no longer survive given the changes coming from inside of us. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you are here. Thank you so much for joining me. And for anyone who is new, welcome. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I channel Isla, the mother of creation. And I bring through messages, healing information. I am first and foremost a healer, but I do share these channeled messages every Friday here on YouTube. So the structure of the video will be, first I will share the original channeling, which I usually do on Thursday nights, and then afterwards I will break it down. And so don't worry if you're listening and you sort of get lost in the vibrations, because a lot of vibes come through when she's talking. So, but just let it happen. Just sink back and just enjoy it. And then afterwards we will go through the message together, and that's where you can really integrate and take in the meaning and let it land a little more deeply. So, I also wanted to let you know that I am hosting a retreat in October here in Seattle. I call it the Expand Your Heart Retreat. The retreat is October 16th through 18th in Seattle, and it's at a beautiful lodge, which is super accessible from the airport. You don't need to rent a car. There's a free shuttle that'll take you there. And it's an amazing, deeply transformational experience. We have a very balanced experience where we are together in channel and meditation, having healing experiences morning, afternoon, and night. But we spice it up in between with opportunities for we have fun gatherings in the evening. We have incredible meals together. So it's a lovely, balanced experience of doing our work, our spiritual work, and then expressing our joy together. So I love to see the friendships that are made at this event. We have people who made friends the previous year who come back together, and I end up hearing, oh my gosh, they ended up being like the closest friends. And this happens not just once, it happens a lot. I see people who came in who originally were the shy ones, and by the end of the experience, they're out in the middle, living it up. So I love that. But of course, to me, the piece that lasts the longest is the healing that comes through, is the channeling that comes through in these experiences. It is, to me, it is some of the deepest that I do. That it is that building energy, and the energy of all of us together. It just opens the doorway that much wider, and what comes through ends up being pretty foundational for my own journey, and I know for the journey of the people that come. So anyways, I hope you can join us. More information is on my website, anntucker.com. At the top there, you see a tab that says Ann in person. So that's the tab that'll tell you all about the retreats that I have coming up. And this one, Expand Your Heart, is the only one on the docket right now, and it is this October in Seattle. Hope to see you there. All right, so go ahead and take a breath, and let's go ahead and listen to the original channeling. Be aware, this is a new time. There are new energies afoot. This is a time for being alive, and a time for revealing, a time to see what is real and what is not. It is a time for misunderstandings to fall away, and for new realizations to become pertinent and important. This is a time for the passage of deceit, for the falling away of things that will no longer hold in the evolving consciousness. And you are at the forefront of all of this. You are wearing the vibration that will no longer carry what has been perpetrated and can no longer be upheld. You are resonating in a frequency that calls for the revealing of what must be shown. This is a time where periods of light seem to shatter through barriers that once sustained you but no longer can. It is as if in the shattering, new light is released, and you are allowed to grow in ways that you couldn't before. There is a gestational field that is erupting on Earth, and the doorways have been opened, and you are extending your light as you reach for what is a new tomorrow. There shall be within and because of this gestational field a rippling effect, a causal effect that creates many substrates of change, a rippling outward in many directions. This is a violation of expectations. It is a disruption of the way things were. It is causal, as I've said. It is instrumental in the letting go of things. These will die down, these great underpinnings that shall be revealed and taken apart. These shall die down, and things shall once again seem as they are. They shall seem as if nothing has happened in some ways, but all will be changed. All will be left from what was and will have gained a new momentum. It shall be as if eyes have been opened, doorways parted, a new fragrance is afield. And this is all that is required. New beginnings come from these new instigations. It shall be as if the ways have parted and the journey is begun, and your footsteps firmly planted along the path. Now your consciousness grows in a new direction. And this is what is happening. As the world seems to shake, as that which rattles has unfolded and will unfold, as you come closer and closer into terms with reality that can no longer justify itself, you shall see what shatters, and you shall know yourselves moving into higher and higher states of vibration along the way. The causal effect of your own gestation creates within the earth a shattering of barriers which must be let down. You must be set free. They can no longer contain the heavens that are being built from within you. You are not required to justify your growth. You are not required to expand according to reason. You expand as joy fills you. You reach as the heavens speak to you. You grow as you need to. You grow as a soul has the urge to grow. And what erupts beneath is simply the barriers, the shelters, the containers, finally depleted and leaving your field. Thus, as the world seemed ruptured, as old thought forms seem to empty themselves out, poured open and let loose, allow yourselves these freedoms, the causal effect of gestation. This is all. It is not meaningful other than as a symbolic tribute to the great things on the horizon. Do not leave your heart in those old underpinnings. Say goodbye to what must go. Leave behind what has left and love what is. Be in the space of the openings. Lean into the departure, for it is your own departure from this placement where light begins to shine in a new way and your heart is opening. The pathway has come toward you and you are stepping upon it. And this, yes, shall cause a ripple which shall magnify And that creates a distance between yourself and what is. But it is a distance that can be measured in freedom. Therefore, I say, open your hearts, smile into the wind that comes to greet you, and allow yourself to be lifted into the frequency which you are attaining. I say, bless you. Thank you. Goodbye. So I have chills on this one. To me, it is very uplifting, very, very uplifting, exciting message, right? And it's like just the read of it to me is beautiful. Like I was very excited reading through it, but then going through it, I felt like I was able definitely to bring this in a little more deeply and hold the meat of it. And I think it's going to be really important, particularly because time is moving so fast. Things are moving so fast that it's easy for us to forget ourselves. It's easy for us to become less conscious because it's almost like as things are moving so quickly, it takes more consciousness to be able to keep up, to stay present. It takes a little bit more consciousness, which is maybe why more energy is coming in, that it's almost like more bandwidth, and we need a little bit more energy to stay coherent and to really appreciate and take in what the opportunities are for here for us at this stage of our development. So let's go ahead and write down the message. Okay. So here is what she says. She says, be aware, this is a new time. There are new energies afoot. This is a time for being alive and a time for revealing, a time to see what is real and what is not. It is a time for misunderstandings to fall away and for new realizations to become pertinent and important. So I always love in the first paragraph, I always give away the punchline, which is awesome. So she's specifically saying this is a time for being alive and a time for revealing. So two things happening. Those seem unrelated, right? To be alive and a time for revealing. So, but this is really what she's saying in the bulk of this message is that there is a change happening, and that change is happening because we are becoming more alive. We are becoming more full of life, more full of light. And that light is revealing the things that are holding us back, the boundaries, the containers, the structures that can no longer survive as we become more and more full of light. So this is a time for being alive and a time for revealing, right? So this is a time where we might start to see some of the things in our own lives and things in the world that have created limitation. And she says, a time to see what is real and what is not. So there could be some things coming forward that are not truthful, where there's been deceit, right? What is real, what is not? The illusion, there could be illusions that are broken. It is a time for misunderstandings to fall away and for new realizations to become pertinent and important. So pertinent means like directly relevant and applicable. New realizations, right? So this is directly relevant to your life. So it's like wake-up call, like aha moments, like, oh my gosh, I see something now that I never saw before, or I see this thing that for some reason I just couldn't see it in the past. All of a sudden, it is breaking free, it is shaking loose, right? Something is shattering, the illusion is shattering, and I see it now in a way that I cannot unsee it. That's the kind of stuff that's coming, and it becomes important, right? This is a launching off point for us. So then she says, next paragraph, this is a time for the passage of deceit. Like in other words, deceit ending. This is the time for the passage of deceit, for the falling away of things that will no longer hold in the evolving consciousness. And you are at the forefront of all of this. You are wearing the vibration that will no longer carry what has been perpetrated and can no longer be upheld. You are resonating in a frequency that calls for the revealing of what must be shown. So this is that idea that things are falling away that can no longer hold. So it's like our consciousness is evolving, whereas when we were and think about this. Was there ever anything that you believed in as a kid, and then you reached a certain level of maturity and awareness and worldliness that you suddenly realized that wasn't true? Like Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny are like obvious ones. There's a time in your life where like you're down with Santa Claus and large bunnies hiding eggs every Easter. Like, yeah, that works. And then there's a time where you suddenly realize, wait a minute, the math doesn't work on that. and your consciousness has risen to a point where all of a sudden you see through the illusion. And that's a cute one. That's a nice one, but there might be some not so nice ones that we start to see through. So, and this is because our consciousness is rising, things that maybe created limitation in our lives, and these could be individually, these could be much more on a broader scale, are going to become clear and potentially break away. And she says, and you are at the forefront of all of this. So what's causing it? What is causal? What is pertinent? It is you. It is us, our vibration going up. So it cannot last, it cannot endure in the light of our evolving consciousness. She says, you are wearing the vibration that will no longer carry what has been perpetrated and can no longer be upheld. You are resonating in a frequency that calls for the revealing of what must be shown. So your vibration just won't support these forms anymore, right? It's like shoes that no longer fit. And you're just like, nope, I'm not buying it any longer. Next paragraph. This is a time where periods of light seem to shatter through barriers that once sustained you, but no longer can. It is as if in the shattering, new light is released, and you are allowed to grow in ways that you couldn't before. There is a gestational field that is erupting on Earth, and the doorways have been opened, and you are extending your light as you reach for what is a new tomorrow. So very interesting. The idea that there are periods of light. This is a time period. This is a time where periods of light seem to shatter through barriers, and in the shattering, new light is released. So I definitely think this could be, energies. And I think there's been some like bonkers solar flares actually just recently. So I think we are getting some really big periods of light coming to the planet. I think I just saw something about that yesterday. And in the shattering, as the barriers shatter, new light is released. So it's like as if and the barriers, like I said, could be old concepts about who you are or who you have to be. It could be, something, any kind of limiting beliefs, limiting structures, anything that creates a limit upon you in one way or another. And in the shattering, new light is released. So it's almost like opening a doorway that much more, and then more light can come in. And you are allowed to grow in ways that you couldn't before, right? Because those structures are gone. There is a gestational field that is erupting on Earth. And she's talked about this a couple times now, that this gestational field began, I think it was back in like November of last year, is when she first said, hey, it's here. And now it's growing and growing. Now she says it's erupting. So this gestational field is getting bigger and bigger, which is the gestational field of the new Earth. A gestational field is like a field in which new things grow. It's like it is a beautiful, fertile field and it's been planted, right? It is erupting, she says. Gestational field of Earth. And the doorways have been opened, and you are extending your light as you reach for what is the new tomorrow. So I love this as a description of where we are in this process, that it's not slow, it's not soft, it is erupting, right? That is the pace of change right now. Very exciting. There shall be within and because of this gestational field a rippling effect, a causal effect that creates many substrates of change, a rippling outward in many directions. This is a violation of expectations. It is a disruption of the ways things were. It is causal, as I've said. It is instrumental in the letting go of things. So let's break this down. She says, we are in this gestational field, which is like the rich, fertile field where New Earth is developing. And she says, because of this gestational field, there is a rippling, or within it, she says, there is a rippling effect, a causal effect. A causal effect means that we are causing it, basically, that there is a ripple coming out from you and from me, right? That creates many substrates of change. So it's this idea that we are taking in the light and then it ripples out from us. So we are receiving light, we are opening up our consciousness, we are allowing more light to move through us, and that then in this gestational field starts rippling out from us, and it begins to affect things on many levels, right? Many substrates of change. A substrate is the underlying foundation, environment, or materials that allows a transformation to take place. So what are the things that support, feeds, or enables a transition, right? So your light is what support, feeds, and enables this transition to happen. So that's why it's causal. And what's important about this is to say what is making this happen. I think so often we say it's the influence of ETs, it's the influence of the sun, it's the influence of God, it's the influence of something outside of us. And here's the thing, those things have always been there. The sun's always been there, the ETs have always been there, all that has always been there, right? Solar flares always been there. What's different? Us. We are different. So what's different is that we are allowing more of that light to come through us. We are perceiving more, and we are allowing more through us. And that creates and we've done enough that we now have this gestational field built between us. And now as we're letting light in, it's creating these ripples. It's almost like before we were playing in the little kiddie pool. Now we've moved to the bigger pool and we're really making waves. And some of those waves are upsetting the apple cart, right? And that's what we're going to start seeing. So, and now she's saying, and then at the end of that paragraph, she said, it is causal, as I said, it is instrumental in the letting go of things. Then she says, these will die down, these great underpinnings that shall be revealed and taken apart. These shall die down, and things shall once again seem as they are. They shall seem as if nothing has happened in some ways, but all will be changed. All will be left from what was and will have gained a new momentum. And I love that she says this here because like think about how many major events there have been. Like, okay, we just had these horrific earthquakes in Venezuela. And when they first came out, everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, horrible. And it was all over the news. And then now we are a little while later, and guess what? It's not in the news as much now, right? And it kind of feels like everything is, if you are not living in Venezuela and if you don't have family living there, then it kind of feels like everything went back to the way it was, right? We're back to doing our regular thing. Like we're still having the same breakfast as we did yesterday. And so she says, so it's like that, but there can be these things where major things collapse, where the world is actually genuinely shifted. But because we are on a very, very, very big ship, and it takes a big ship a long time to change, it can feel as if things are just the same. But what she's trying to say here is be aware of that there will be these big moments where something is rattled, something is brought forward to the surface, something is revealed, things that were creating barriers for us, that were limitations for us, will break free. And then she said, but it will die down. It'll happen. It'll die down. These great underpinnings will be revealed and taken apart, but then the dust is going to settle. And then she says, but don't think that doesn't mean that things have changed. She says, all will be changed. All will be left from what was and will have gained a new momentum. So all of these individual things that are happening, it seems like a very slow and steady march. But if you add them all up, it is a major, major momentum that we are building. And then she says, next paragraph, it shall be as if eyes have been opened, doorways parted, a new fragrance is afield. And this is all that is required. New beginnings come from these new instigations. It shall be as if the ways have parted and the journey is begun, and your footsteps firmly planted along the path. Now your consciousness grows in a new direction. And this is what is happening. So I had a thought with this, which was kind of random, but I think it helps to explain the feeling of it. Is that they always show in movies the moment where like some guy's been in prison for 20 years and then he comes out and they give him his clothes and he takes off the orange jumpsuit and he gets his street clothes and they're like, some like wide collar from the 70s because he hasn't worn them in 30 years. And they give him like $20 and then they close the gate behind him and he steps out into freedom. And it's like and they always shoot in the movie, like you expect a moment like that. It would be like trumpets blaring and like, wow, I'm free. But in the movies, they always show it never is. The guy walks through or, the person could be, but often it's a guy in a movie. And he walks through and it's like nothing. He's just standing on the asphalt and like nothing happens. And he's like, okay, I'm free. And it doesn't feel in that moment like you realize he's at the beginning of something, not the end of something, right? It is the first step, the first journey. And so you might say in that moment, well, okay, great, he's free, but now what? Like now what? But we understand that the potential standing outside the prison is way more than the potential inside the prison, right? So it is not about that moment, it's about everything that's coming from that moment. That is the fact that he stepped outside the prison is everything, because it means that the entire world is now available to him. And that's, I think, the point of where we're entering with this process that we're going through, is we're going from a time where we've been in the prison and we had a limited set of options, and something's going to fall away, something's going to be revealed, something's going to open, some sort of a barrier will shake free, and we will then step on the other side of it, and we will say, well, now what? And it might feel like you're still eating the same breakfast that you did yesterday, but the difference will be that now the whole world is available to you. And so it will be, what do we do from this point forward? And so that, I think, is what she's trying to explain here. And she says, the ways have parted and the journey is begun, and your footsteps firmly planted along the path. Now your consciousness grows in a new direction. So it's really very powerful, right? And this is what is happening, she says. Very, very powerful. All right, then she says, as the world seems to shake, as that which rattles has unfolded and will unfold, as you come closer and closer into terms with reality that can no longer justify itself, you shall see what shatters, and you shall know yourselves moving into higher and higher states of vibration along the way. And this, to me, is what I wrote on here. I said, this is the point, right? Why does she tell us all this stuff? Is not to make us scared that there's going to be change. It's to say the point of the change. It is evidence, right? You are moving into higher states of vibration. You are causing it. That's the whole point of this message. You are causing this because you have changed, and because your energy no longer supports living in that constrained world, whatever it was for you. It no longer can contain you because you were just vibing too high. And she goes on, next paragraph, the causal effect of your own gestation creates within the earth a shattering of barriers which must be let down. You must be set free. They can no longer contain the heavens that are being built from within you. How beautiful is that? I love that. I love that phrase. They can no longer contain the heavens that are being built from within you. So it is this idea that as we transform, we've known for a while now that this shift of consciousness is an inside job, right? It is happening from the inside out. We are creating it from within us, and then it will manifest outwardly. And so that is what she's describing here. She's saying that you are creating heaven on earth inside of you. And as that starts to emerge, right, then the barriers have to fall away because your energy no longer is in alignment with that. It doesn't support it anymore. Then she goes on to say, you are not required to justify your growth. You are not required to expand according to reason. You expand as joy fills you. You reach as the heavens speak to you. You grow as you need to. You grow as a soul has the urge to grow. And what erupts beneath are simply the barriers, the shelters, the containers, finally depleted and leaving your field. And I love that paragraph. I just love it. So I love this idea that we don't have to explain ourselves, right? As a matter of fact, we can't, because we don't really know what we're becoming yet. And she's saying you don't have to know. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to describe it. Just let it happen. Just let your heart expand. Let it become what it's going to become. It's this idea of there's a degree of fearlessness that we have to embody with this shift of consciousness, that we have to trust ourselves and trust what's coming from inside of us, and trust that what we're going to create it might be unlike anything we've ever experienced. And that's all right, because it's coming from us. It's coming from inside of us, and we can trust who we are. And so it's this idea of you don't have to explain it. It doesn't have to be, that doesn't matter if anybody else gets it. All that matters is that you allow yourself to feel the joy that you are, that you reach for the heavens as they speak to you, that you grow as you need to, that you grow as your soul has the urge to grow. And what I also love about this is she's not saying that you're on a schedule. She's not saying that you have to grow at the same time as everybody else or in the same way at all. That this is saying your growth is unique to you. And there's no pathway that you're supposed to be on that somebody else describes. They can't describe your pathway. Like yours is unique and very individual. And so it's this idea that where we start to get impatient with ourselves and say, well, I'm not doing it fast enough, or I'm not like that person, or that person's ahead, or there's no ahead, behind. There's nothing like that that is true, right? You expand as joy fills you, right? As your soul has the urge to grow. And no one else can measure it, because your method and what you are growing may be totally different from what somebody else is growing. And then everything that was holding you back, those things, sort of like a crab leaving a shell that it's outgrown, those containers finally depleted will leave your field. Then she says, thus, as the world seems ruptured, as old thought forms seem to empty themselves out, poured open and let loose, allow yourselves these freedoms. The causal effect of gestation, this is all. It is not meaningful other than as a symbolic tribute to the great things on the horizon. Do not leave your heart in those old underpinnings. Say goodbye to what must go. Leave behind what is left, and love what is. And so what I wrote as my note here is I said, what's interesting is not what is falling, it is what is rising. So she's trying to direct our attention and say, okay, whatever drama, trauma, crazy is happening in the world, like we do want to, if we have grief involved, feel the grief and then let it go and recognize that is not what's interesting. Recognize that's just a symbol, that's a symptom, that's a side effect of the real action here. And the real action is your growth. The real action is that you have moved on, and that humanity is, enough of us are moving forward, that those structures can't stand any longer. And whatever they look like, right? Whether they're individual or whether they're in the world, in the collective. And she's saying, yeah, don't leave your heart there, right? In those underpinnings, say goodbye, leave behind what is left and love what is. Then she says, be in the space of the openings, lean into the departure, for it is your own departure from this placement where light begins to shine in a new way, and your heart is opening. The pathway has come toward you, and you are stepping upon it. And so this is that idea that the prison gate's opening, right? And we step outside the gate, and the gate's shut behind us, and we are now on a new path. And what will we do with it? What will we create from here? It's unknown. We don't know, and that's okay. And it is our departure, right? We're shining our light in a new way. And then she says, and this, yes, shall cause a ripple, which shall magnify. And that creates a distance between yourself and what is. But it is a distance that can be measured in freedom. Therefore, I say, open your hearts, smile into the wind that comes to greet you, and allow yourself to be lifted into the frequency which you are attaining. I say, bless you, thank you, and goodbye. And I drew a line here between the previous paragraph and this one where she says, the pathway has come toward you and you were stepping upon it. And then she says, and this shall cause a ripple. So I love that vision of like stepping out on the path and there's a puddle there and you step in it and it creates a ripple that moves out, right? An energetic energy that this is like claiming the path. We are on it. And that then is going to affect everybody and everything, right? That you from this point forward, we are different. And then she says, yes, and doing that will create a distance between yourself and what is. So what is a distance? That's going to make change, right? That means stuff is going to fall away. It's going to create distance where things that we maybe were once felt very close to you no longer are. She says, but it is a distance that can be measured in freedom. Such a beautiful way to express that, that she's saying that the distance is there only because you are claiming your freedom. And that whatever that was that fell away, it wasn't serving you anymore. Yeah, and she says, open your heart, smile into the wind. And so this is like when we think of wind, like wind can be a lot of things. Like if you're trying to move forward into the wind can feel like resistance, right? It can feel like the wind is against you, that wind is holding you back, wind is slowing you down, unless you put up your sail, in which case the wind can pull you along, right? Wind can work for you or against you. So here she is saying, let the wind work for you. Smile into the wind, right? Let the wind, like embrace the wind. Embrace whatever's happening, like embrace it. Let the wind, smile into it. Don't worry if it feels like there's a headwind coming on. Like just smile into the wind and recognize that the wind is your friend, that change is your friend, that all of this experience is happening because as a measure of the progress that you've made. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. You guys, so much love to you. I will see you next Friday live. Bye, you guys. Have a beautiful week.